right, so we're back at it again with another podcast, Nam Studios Podcast, and today I'm here with Esperanza. How do you pronounce your last name?
Viera.
Viera. Okay, didn't want to butcher it.
Yeah, no,
Esperanza Viera, and we're here because you and me did something crazy last year. Wow.
I know.
We fought in the Long Island Fight for Charity, as you can see by our awesome robes, and we're here just to chat about it, have some fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's such an honor to be here, honestly, and witness behind the scenes.
It was a little something. But talk to me. Tell me what made you. I mean, I know what made me start the Fight for Charity, but what made you say, okay, I'll do the Long Island Fight for Charity.
You know what's funny is I guess there's a few reasons. One of them obviously being just doing something for a good cause.
Yeah.
And then I'm always just out for a challenge. And boxing was one of those things where I was like, okay, I think I'm pretty fit. But it was so different. It was also very humbling. Like I said, I've done Spartans. I thought I was in shape. And then I did boxing and I was like, baby, please. It really humbled me. And it's funny because then when I was still in the works of, I guess, thinking about doing it, I had gone to my dad and I said, I think I'm going to do this Long Island Box for Charity. And he said, you're going to be boxing? Oh, yeah. And he hyped me up, and he was like, oh, I want to go training with you. And seeing his enthusiasm, then I was like, oh, yeah, I got to commit and do this,
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same with me. I was always up for a challenge. I did the same thing. I did Spartan races all the time. I've got multiple trifectas. I was a big CrossFitter back in the day. And so when someone says, I'm always someone who likes to check something off their list.
Same.
So it's so I could say, I've done it once.
Yeah.
So when, everybody approached me and was like, hey, do you want to do the Long Island Fight for Charity? I was like, what does it entail? They was like, you have to box, you get to train, they pay for your training for a year. I was like, shh. And a good cause? Yeah. I'll do it. I'll
be honest, my big, I guess just fear that we put on ourselves. My biggest fear was raising the $10,000.
Oh, absolutely. That was by far the hardest thing.
Because for me, I guess I'll say I struggle with asking people for help. And this really helped me, get into that. And I realized I have a lot more people rooting for me than I originally thought.
Yeah, exactly. I was the same way. I think that asking people for help, asking people specifically for money was very, very uncomfortable.
Yes, I agree with that.
But it taught me a lot that I hope to use for fundraising in the future.
I agree. It's funny. Now we're past it, obviously. But I was thinking, I was like, oh my God, there were a lot of people that I did not tap into, just really they say your network is your net worth all the time. And I really thought about that. I was like, oh, there were a few people that I definitely could have tapped who would have just opened up their networks for me.
Yeah.
So maybe if we ever do this again, now I have a little bit more insight.
Are you going to do it again?
I don't know. Actually, I would love to, when I was coming off. And, I guess one of the other good things that I loved about being the only female in our boxing class was, one, just I felt like one of the guys,
Yeah.
And two, there was almost an honor of being the only girl. Even at fight night or even throughout some of the events, Rob would bring his daughters, or I would meet Demetrius's nieces, and they're like, oh yeah, she's the only girl in the fight. And they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. And so that was really cool to be able to hold the light on women, and there's nothing that really stops us either. And so I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah, even my wife was just like, is she the only girl fighting? And I was like, yeah, she's the only girl fighting. She's like, are you fighting? I was like, no, I'm not fighting her.
I did get that a lot.
She's like, are you fighting one of the guys? She fighting one of the guys. I was like, no, they're going to find someone for the gym for her to fight. And she was like, oh man, power to her.
I love that. It was so funny because Rob and Demetrius, when I both got to meet their little ones, that was a joke. They were like, I'm fighting her in the ring. And they're these really big guys. So, they were like, oh my God. So yeah, just really funny. How was
training for you? I mean, you're naturally an athletic person. So I feel like I've seen you run a lot.
Yeah.
Do you go running a lot?
So funny you say that because I hate running. So I don't know where you saw me.
I feel like I see you on social media and you're someone who maybe it was just because of the training.
Yeah.
I felt like every time it was either you're away, realty, or it's like, oh, I went for a run. I'm like, oh man, she's a runner.
Yeah. Oh no, I hate running. I did have to do running for our training.
Yeah.
But I will say that training was something I took really seriously from the beginning. Because I guess I knew that there were no other women in our boxing class.
Yeah.
I knew that
You had
someone...
to show up.
Yeah, I knew that I was going to be facing someone who really knew what they were doing. And my biggest fear was like getting my... Can I curse on this?
Yes.
Like getting my ass beat in front of my family and friends,
Yeah,
you know?
that was the biggest thing.
That was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I really have to train. And honestly, it really made me take it a lot more seriously. I remember, especially in the beginning, because we started training maybe like end of May, beginning of June. And there were only maybe like a handful of us that were like, you know, in the gym all the time. And I remember thinking like, okay, this is where, you know, this is where you start laying down the groundwork for what's going to come in November. Yeah,
I feel the same way. I feel, you know, as a working professional, like, do I feel like I could have got into the gym more? Yeah. I feel like if it was in my 20s.
I still feel that way.
Yeah, I still feel that way, right?
Yeah.
But like the training was definitely fun, learning techniques, learning everything that had to do with boxing.
Yeah.
And near the end, it started getting real serious. Real serious.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I play tennis. I love playing tennis. And the thing I love about it the most is that it's a lot of strategy, a lot of mental toughness.
Yeah.
And I have so much respect for boxing because that's exactly what... Before, it's so funny. I would be like, UFC, pass. Like, you know, boxing, I don't need to see. It's too violent for me. I don't need to see someone getting beat up. And then learning this as a sport, I was like, wow, so much respect. It really is an honor to see, like, because that's what it is, right? Like, even as we're doing the training, I remember thinking, like, you know, there is a constant bell. So I remember being like, oh my God, this is such a mental thing. Like, comparing day one where I was like 3 minutes of jump rope, I'm like, you know, after like the 1 minute. And then I was like, wow, what a mental toughness, because then there was like one day, for example, there was no music. The audio wasn't working or whatever it was. And I remember just thinking like, oh, wow. And I felt like time went so much faster. And then I was like, you know what? Like, it's just the mental toughness that I've been building. I don't even realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about like fight night. Like, I feel like I haven't really seen anybody, like we've had like the check presentation and everything, but having a conversation with someone who went through the same thing I did, like, tell me about fight night. How did you feel fight night, like leading up, in the ring, and after?
It's so funny. So I don't know if I can even share some of the behind the scenes, but you know, I technically probably not a sanctioned fight because I had to wear like a vest in order to make the weight to meet her. So I will say I was a little bit nervous leading up to it. I also was meeting her that night. So when I saw her, I said, oh yeah, she's a badass. But I had a little bit of confidence coming in because I had been sparring with like Tabitha, who's like this brolic girl, like... And so for me, I guess that kind of made me feel like, okay, I've been in the ring with people who are a lot bigger than me. So I think I should be okay. And then really like respecting our trainers. So like Frankie, for example, had told me, you know, sometimes, I don't know if you remember, like we would be training like 5 rounds in, 6 rounds in. And we're thinking like, wait a minute, I thought we were only doing 3 rounds. Why are we going so much? And I remember Frankie saying like, because of the lights and all of the people, like you're going to feel after your first round, like you're 5 rounds in. And I remember back then I was like, yeah, okay. And then fight night, I was, after round 1, I said, I came back and I said, I'm tired, Frankie, you know?
I remember that. I remember because you were the first fight of the night. So everybody was watching you. And then I remember you came back to the back and you were just like, and the adrenaline was still kicking. Your face
adrenaline.
Is red. Like, I remember that. Yeah, I mean, leading up to the fight, it was definitely, it was a lot of waiting. I remember, you know, getting dressed and just listening to music and, you know, jitters because, you know, they were just like, go in, you get weighed. They're like, do not talk to them. Do not say anything. Just say yes or no. They're like, you cannot go outside. You also get kicked out. And then, yes, after the first round, I was gassed.
Yeah.
I was super, super gassed. But you know what the most craziest thing is that I tell everybody who will listen is that it is just like the movies where I walked into that, you walk out the back and you see everybody and then you get into that ring and then everything just blacks out.
I agree.
Like all I remember is being in the room with, what was my opponent's name?
Travis.
Travis, yes. Travis. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything. I didn't hear any yelling. You know how loud it is in that room? It was literally like a HBO movie where it's just like you and your fighter and you guys are going at it. And then after, it was just like everybody just appeared again.
Yeah. I agree with you. I felt the same way. There were so many people who were like, did you hear us yelling for you? And I'm like, no, I only for some reason could only hear the commentators, and probably a bad thing because you know they had their commentary like on my hits, but then also on her hits.
I didn't even hear the commentary, to be honest with you.
Really? Yeah. So, but like you said, the adrenaline, it's almost like having like tunnel vision while you're in there.
Yeah, exactly.
The lights are also so blinding. It really is like being on a stage. So like I said, it really did give me like so much respect for the people who actually do this for like a living, you know?
Yeah. And how long did it take you to come down from that adrenaline?
I think I rode that adrenaline all night, to be honest. And then like the week after, because so I had a lot of friends who like came to watch me, and even like clients who came out to see me. And, you know, I didn't take it like this just because, you know, there were so many people. And I guess you get pulled in every direction. And so all of my friends were like, oh my God, you're a celebrity. Like you had a line of people trying to get like your picture and stuff. And I was like, now that you say that, I felt like I was getting smile here, like smile here, fist up, you know?
I think you had a good time because since you went first, you were done first.
I got to enjoy it,
and then
really.
you got to enjoy like there were like 9 other fights.
I agree,
Yeah. I went like 6th or 7th out of like 9.
And it's so funny because I originally wasn't even supposed to go first, but I don't know if you knew, like
your opponent had another job, had to leave, something like that.
And again, also like a reminder, like always be ready because you know, stay ready. You are ready.
Stay ready. Can't be caught lacking.
Yeah, exactly.
Say, cannot.
They said you're going first. I said I am.
Cannot be caught lacking.
Yeah.
But I would say my adrenaline lasted till the next day. I don't know about you, but I guess I still haven't taken a. Let me rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched the video of me fighting.
Oh, you see, again, I didn't originally, and my friends were like, oh my God, you did so good. And like, one of my friends actually made me sit down and watch it. And then I was like, oh, I guess I wasn't. In my head, I was like, I remember taking a few hits where I was like, you know, I could have done a little more head work. I could have done this. And then seeing it, I was like, oh, it wasn't half bad, you know?
Yeah, they were... I haven't watched my video because I knew I took a couple of hits for a reason I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
But a lot of people told me like, wow, Theo, you just did not give up. Like you kept standing your ground and he was way bigger than you. And I didn't really notice how much bigger he was.
So much bigger than you.
I didn't really notice
Trust me, when my girl was only 4 inches bigger than me. But even then I was like, girl, you have the advantage here. But I mean, you know, your opponent had Travis, obviously. He had a lot of inches on you.
Yeah. Pause. But
in height, you know.
In height, yes.
That's hysterical.
But so I haven't gotten around to watching my fight yet, just because I don't know why I can't bring myself to it.
Yeah.
But after the fight, I would say the next day, I had a 24-hour headache. That's how I knew I took a lot of hits. And I think I had like really acute concussion, like super acute concussion.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I had like a 24-hour headache. It was really painful, but then it went away. And I was fine. But like, I don't know if that was like acute concussion or just the adrenaline because I had so much adrenaline. But
I'm glad you're okay.
Would I do it again? I probably wouldn't sign up again. But if because we had a couple of
Right,
fighters this
like
year
Fallons, yeah.
that
Fill-ins,
were
right?
called because they couldn't find opponents
Yeah.
for people who were in our group. So
Yeah.
they're like, hey, can you past fighters who like, hey, can you fight? And they fight.
Yeah.
If they called me again to be a fighter, if they couldn't find any opponent for anybody,
Yeah.
I'd probably do it.
What's so funny is I just loved the experience because, again, I felt like it was a sort of a blessing in all of it, right? So I want to stay involved and like I'm gonna volunteer to do like the committee this year
Yeah.
and like I feel like there's such insight in like being on the like in the ring and doing the whole journey.
Yeah.
And like I felt that like this journey we just got to meet a lot of like beautiful people who like we probably otherwise would not have met. Like I think about it all the time. Like we were already connected because of Long Island Elite.
Yeah.
And it's a little sad to admit, but I felt like this fight really like opened the doors for us to like actually be friends now. So I just thought
and not because we didn't want to be friends, but you're like deep in something. Obviously, I'm in like Garden City, Queens, so it's like unless it's LIE meetings, and we were supposed to like hang out or like connect to a one-on-one a while back.
Yeah,
but things get in the way and everything.
And that's exactly what I mean. Like sometimes it was a blessing in disguise, in some senses where it was like just that it opened up friendships that probably would not have happened otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. And we got to see the inner workings of like how this takes place every year. Like, I don't think anybody realizes because we were there early for the setup, but the amount of work that the committee and Elisa and everybody have to put into this one night every year, it's kind of like a wedding.
Yeah.
Like, just to see the work that goes into it, the setup, the day of, it's insane to think of that they're able to pull this off every year for the past, 19, 20 years it's been going on. Yeah. That's insane. That's beautiful.
Honestly, a lot of respect to all of them. And it is such really like an honor, like I said, that to be able to have been able to do this. And it's so interesting that, they have been maybe doing this for 19 years, but they give the same passion to it every single year. And I love that because I think when you do something in routine and you do it every single year, for example, you kind of, it dies out, that passion. And maybe it is because we bring fresh faces and new people. But I did feel like, wow, like, and everyone, again, like coming up to you later, even like, like Jamie and, I remember like right before the doors open for us to come in, he's in my ear like, go kill.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like,
"You
kill."
got this.
But I guess I did need that like, again, like mental toughness because I remember even being like in the ring sparring when you were training. And, like Lawrence would tell me like, and even Frankie, like, don't stop holding your punches. And I realized I was, but until them calling me out, then I was like, okay, I gotta let go of my punches.
I think that's just a human like empathy thing. Because I remember when I was, even though I didn't train at Frankie's gym a lot, it was just on the weekends when we were supposed to go in. I was training at a gym closer to me over here called Slick Sluggers. Even my coach, Coach G, was just like, we would be sparring. And if I get him with a good hit, I'd immediately stop, be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he's like, you do not need to apologize. Like, we're boxing.
That's a good hit.
And I would do the same thing at Frankie's gym. Like, if I hit someone with like a really good hit, I'd immediately stop and say sorry. And it's like, it's boxing, Theo. Stop saying sorry.
I have actual footage of me, like you said, saying sorry. And all the guys in the gym are like, sorry, and I like, here come the jokes. And I'm like, you're right. You're right.
But funny enough, that didn't happen the night of. Like, the night of, like, you had like tunnel vision.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
So like, tell me how you got involved with Long Island Elite? Because that's where we like originally met.
Yeah. So it's so funny you say that because I don't know if you know this. I used to work at Good Samaritan Hospital.
Okay. I didn't know
and I
that.
actually used to work for Justin Jason.
Oh, okay.
He was my director. And then I had left to the American Cancer Society. It was just a better opportunity at the time. And at that point, I had started real estate part-time. And then the market was hot, and I decided to go full-time. And I love this quote. It says, like, when, people are really for you, like, they're going to help you get to these places, And Justin is exactly that for me. Like, now we're friends, we're close friends, you know. And when I decided to go real estate full time, he showed me his like support. And in knowing that, like, again, your network is, you know, people are going to refer you and all of this, he opened up his LIE network for me. And he said, you know, like, you should join this group. And, you know, it is pretty elite. You know, there are people who have been running successful businesses longer than we've even been alive, you know? So again, there's a lot of like mentorship that you can get, and it's not always necessarily a referral or closing a deal, but a lot of the times it's just being in the room of opportunity. And like, you know, I see this a lot. It's like, sure, it's sort of about who you know, but more than anything, it's actually who knows you.
Yeah. Exactly.
How'd you get involved in LIE?
I got involved through Rich Tavares.
No way, I love Rich.
Rich Tavares, Tony Dean, and Ben Cooper.
Okay.
I would say like them three, because what happened was I met Rich Tavares through Huga.
Okay.
Right? And then he invited me about 2 years ago to an Islanders game.
Okay.
And at that Islanders game, I met Tony and Ben Cooper.
He's never invited me to an Islanders game.
That was the last Islanders game he's ever invited me to. I haven't been to one since. But yeah, I met Tony and Ben Cooper before Ben Cooper was president, when Frank was still president.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, you should come check out the Long Island Elite. And I remember that was February. I went to the February meeting in 2023, and by March of 2023, I was a member.
Wow.
I was a member. Yeah. So
yeah, I actually became a member. I want to say I was a COVID member.
Okay.
Like, I came in that year.
2020?
Probably 2021, but it was like, you know, it ended like mid 2021 COVID. Yeah, and I remember like the first meeting was like controversial. They wanted us to wear masks. So half of the room was wearing masks, half of them weren't. And Mike Stern was the president at that time.
Okay. Yeah, everybody makes their way that group. It's amazing how long that group has been going on.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. So, like, yeah, I feel like that group is a godsend. And then it's helped me really grow the past couple of years.
I agree. Yeah.
So what's next for you? Like, how's real estate been? Are you still, like, Jones Hollow?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what's next? What's the plans for Esperanza?
Oh, man. So I actually now have a team.
Okay.
And they really focus... They do help me on Long Island, but they also focus on, like, the boroughs, which I know nothing about. So that really helps me. And my whole idea is, you know, and I've been this past year actually been growing my relationship with God. So in this year, I want to lean in more into that. I'm actually going to get baptized in February.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just feel like God, as corny as it sounds, has been using me as a vessel just to bless others.
Yeah.
So that's how I want to continue, you know, like, yeah, I have goals for myself and aspirations, but more than anything, I want to help others achieve financial freedom and generational wealth. And for me, real estate has literally like changed my life. So I want people to be able to leverage real estate in that same way, you know?
And what made you like grow closer to God in that level? Like, what was the catalyst that like made you really want to explore that?
Oh man,
this later in life, I would say. Not that it's late in life.
No,
but.
I know. You call me old. No, no, I know what you mean. To be honest, we like grew up Christian, you know. And it was now 2 Decembers ago. I was in a really bad accident. Like my car was totaled. All the airbags came out. They had to like pry my door open. And I remember in the like split second of like me turning the wheel and like slamming on the brakes, me thinking like, thank you God, I lived a good life, you know? And thank God I obviously am okay. And when they were strapping me into the stretcher, the EMT was like, you know, I've pulled people out of accidents not as bad as yours, and they're not lucky enough to walk away. Like someone up there is protecting you.
Okay.
And honestly, Theo, like adrenaline, nerves, whatever, everything. I started crying then. I was fine before. And then he said that and I like a wave, you know? And I was just thinking to myself, like, you know what? You're right. Like God has me here for a purpose. And I wonder what that purpose is.
Yeah.
Well,
that's awesome to hear. Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Thank you. Me too.
I'm glad this is going on. I grew up Catholic, so I definitely understand where you're coming from. I would say that I've been trying to, I wouldn't say like get a relationship with God.
Yeah.
Growing up Catholic, and Haitian, that is a big thing in the
Yeah.
family, in my family. But I have been trying to get closer to, I don't know, just vibes. I guess to say vibes,
Yeah.
like the universe, that kind of thing. But I honestly have been thinking about like having a better relationship with God as well. But I'm still like on the cusp. So hopefully I don't have to get into the accent.
Yeah, no. Well, that's what I mean.
It's
so funny because that's how I kind of felt before, like fully understanding that now it was like God that I was seeking.
Yeah.
I used to be big on like the universe and signs and vibes. And when you realize like that's really God speaking and moving in ways that we just don't understand. Like, I don't know, you've probably heard and you know, they say like God works in mysterious ways. And no, there is no coincidence. Like God has ordained it all, you know? So it's funny because I was there. And I'm always now, like I'm learning through discipleship and everything. Like we're not always, sometimes you just plant the seed and that's all you're meant to do. You know what I mean? So maybe I'm just planting a seed for you. And, and again, everyone's relationship with God, it's individual. Like before I used to say I was, I believed in God. I used to pray like every night, but not that I would be like in a hard time, like God, please like help me, through this podcast, for example. And now I do fall on that. And like, I realized before, like maybe I did have a little bit of anxiety, not that I even would refer to it that way, but now I see it and I'm like, like, why am I worrying about this? Like God is going to, work it all out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And before we leave, I just want to say I saw your comment because I had my team do a video for me.
Your video was so fire.
Thank you so much.
Like I said, I'm going to be on the committee for next year. So I'm going to push that they hire you for the fight next year.
Well, we got to try. I know they have videographers and everything is live streamed above.
Yeah.
But I feel like, my team did a great job highlighting me. And I was like, I wish everybody had this kind of highlight.
Honestly, I thought the same thing. I said, I really wish I hired you.
I just called my team up and I was like, listen, just follow me around the day.
And thank you because you caught me for a little bit with like News 12.
News 12.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. I totally saw a little clip of that, by the way. So thank you. Thank you. But yeah, like, kudos to you and your team. Like that there's a lot of stuff that like, and again, that was a short clip, but to really see like everything, like you said, it was a whole night. So like, when people sometimes, and even in my industry, I see this, like when you make a job look so easy, everyone thinks they can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that just goes to show the level of professionalism that actually exists. Yeah. So kudos to you.
Thank you. That's also the reason why I'm going to try to start. I actually dropped 2 episodes already. A third one should be coming, but I've been vlogging because I felt like last year between the fight for charity, between a lot of things, I won Rookie of the Year at LIE.
Yeah.
I felt like I need to start documenting just my life in general because it's interesting. And a lot of people ask me questions like, what are you doing here? Why are you doing this? And I'm just like, you know what? I'm a marketing person, so it helps with my own business marketing if I'm marketing myself.
For sure.
Yeah. But you do a really good job because you had a photographer come when we did the
our guest bartending.
Guest bartending. Yeah, that was awesome. Which I haven't seen those pictures. I haven't sent me those.
I'm going to send them to you. Yeah, they came out really good.
Yeah.
Sort of the same thing, like at the end of the day, and it's hard to remember sometimes when you're running a successful business, you are your own brand. Yeah. So literally in everywhere you go, like the way you speak, the way people, and a lot of the times, your online presence is what people go off of. So, I see it a lot in my industry. Like if you don't have an online presence, guess what? People aren't going to call you,
Exactly.
So yeah, it's another job.
Yeah, it is a full-time job.
Full-time job. Yeah.
So how do you do your marketing? I mean, I know that I see you post a lot, but like in Jones Hollow, like what do you guys focus on? Like email marketing, cold calls? Talk to me
Yeah,
about
so
that.
we do a lot of in-house marketing. So I'm actually at a boutique agency,
Okay.
and I used to be with 2 franchises before, actually. And what I felt and what people have also like given me flowers for is some of our in-house marketing. So like, there's a lot of stuff again because we don't have to go through like different tiers to actually publicate something. We're able to catch on trends sometimes and like put something that is trending, you know what I mean? And like, I'm kind of also my own marketing.
Yeah.
And again, I mentioned that Justin is my close friend. So I'm very thankful that I can lean on a lot of people that do this for a living and gain insight. So I'll say, for example, oh, like this networking group wants me to join. What do you think? And he's like, I think it's a waste. And I'm like, okay. Or, you know, I was thinking of doing this ad. What do you think? And he's like, well, I think the presence that you have online, if you maybe boost a social media post or do something like that, you're going to reach a lot more people than if you do a print ad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're right. Like, you know, and sometimes there's a lot of things where you're like, like if you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, then that's how you grow, you know?
Exactly. So what's next? What's next for Esperanza?
You know, I have a Spartan race coming in May.
Okay. Which one is it? Sprint, Super, or Beast?
So I'm doing, Super is the 10K?
I don't know which the K is, but I know it's the Sprint is the small one, Super is the middle, Beast is the long one.
Okay, so I'm doing Super.
Okay.
I had done the Stadium or the Mini last year. And it's funny because I hadn't trained. You know, talk about crazy. Like,
you going in ice cold?
I just go. So I play over the summer. I mentioned tennis. So we play, you know, religiously like every Saturday.
Yeah.
Me and like other people in the industry. And we were playing. And one of the girls who, like the Saturday, literally a week before, was like, oh, I'm not going to be here next Saturday because I have the Spartan race. And Espy, you should do it. And I said, well, what is it? You know, she sends me the link. I sign up, you know, and she's like, oh, you're going to be fine. I've seen you, you know, you're going to be fine. She's also, I should say 40, like in her 40s.
Yeah.
So I'm also competitive. And so when we did this run, you know, my cue, again, like, was I training for this race? No. But had I been training because of boxing?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess I was in a lot better shape than I thought.
Yeah.
I ended up, my goal was like, okay, I got to stick by her side, you know, and again, my competitiveness. If this lady in her 40s can do it, like I could do it. You know what I mean? So thank God I did it. I ended up finishing, and again, no training, like top 16% out of
really
like
good.
4,000 whatever runners.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's not bad. So now my competition is just beating my numbers from last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next year, I'm going to be 2026. I'm going to be doing Spartan races again because the last Beast I did was in 2016.
Okay.
And we did the Vermont Beast, which is known as the hardest beast on the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
And I remember finishing that and tears running down my face when I was
Wow.
done. So my friends who I did it with was like, we should do a 10-year
anniversary, yes.
and do it again in 2026.
Oh, I love
so
that
I was like,
idea.
I need to start training.
Let me know. Maybe I'll join.
Yes, it's going to be in 2026.
And it's so funny. Sometimes you don't even know who you're inspiring along the way. So that happened to me. I was down visiting. My sister lives in North Carolina.
Okay.
And so my brother-in-law was like, oh my God, you did that? Like, I want to do one. So I'm going to go back down in May to run one with him.
That's awesome.
And he's on this whole like fitness wave, you know. So he's like, yeah, that's going to be a good motivation for me. So I said, okay, if you want to do it, I'll do it with you.
Sometimes that's all you need. You just need a buddy to do it with you.
You want to jump? Let's jump.
Let's go.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining me. Thank you for talking to me about the fight for charity and, you know, what we went through. It's good to have someone that we could like talk about that with, because I know some of my friends are just like, I remember when I told some of my friends, they were just like, you're getting punched in the face for charity. And I'm like, well, if you mentioned it like that.
Yeah, when you say it like that, I had a lot of people tell me, like, you're too pretty to get punched or like whatever. And I'm like, you know what? First of all, that's doubt.
Yeah.
And second of all, that's why I'm training. The whole idea is to not get punched in the face. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Well, how do we find you? Tell me, drop your socials where we could find you.
Yeah, follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram as esperanza.realestate, on Facebook, esperanzaviera.realestate, LinkedIn, Esperanza Viera.
Okay, no TikTok? Let's not talk about TikTok.
You know, some people are still grieving. It's funny, I never really went there, but I don't know if I shared. I'm impulsive. Okay. And they said they banned TikTok, so I deleted the app.
Oh my God. And now, you can't download it?
Right. It's non-existent. So, yeah, let's not talk about TikTok.
All right. So, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Esperanza Viera.
Awesome. Right, thanks, Thank you so much, Theo, for having me.